President Nathan Foster stood before the cameras in the White House Situation Room. Behind him, screens showed the disabled Zephyrian fleet floating helplessly in space. But this message was not just for the alien military leaders. It was being broadcast directly to every world in the Zephyrian Empire. Citizens of the Zephyrian Empire, Foster began, his voice calm and steady. My name is Nathan Foster, President of the United Earth Government. I am speaking to you during what your leaders called a great war. But there will be no war today. The President paused, letting his words sink in across 1,000 worlds. Your military sent 2,000 ships to destroy our colony at New Austin. Those ships now drift powerless in space. Not one shot was fired. Not one life was lost. Your warriors are alive and unharmed. Foster stepped closer to the camera. We disabled your entire fleet using technology that your scientists said was impossible. We could have destroyed every ship instead of just stopping them. We chose mercy. This is the difference between your empire and humanity. On the Zephyrian homeworld, billions of citizens watched in shock as the human leader continued. Your government has told you that humans are weak, that we are primitive, that we pose no threat to your great civilization. Look at your disabled fleet and decide for yourself if those words were true. In the Imperial Palace, the Zephyrian High Council gathered in emergency session. Their most trusted military commanders were reporting impossible things. Human ships appearing from nothing. Technology that could shut down their entire fleet in seconds. Offers of help instead of demands for surrender. Foster's image filled their main screen. We have had the power to disable your civilization for over a year. Every ship, every power plant, every piece of technology that uses exotic matter cores. We could have turned off your lights and left your worlds in darkness. Instead, we tried to talk to you. The High Council leader, an ancient Zephyrian named Thekvar, felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Fear. Not fear of death, but fear of having made a terrible mistake. For 3 years, Foster continued, we offered friendship. We offered trade. We offered to share the galaxy in peace. Your leaders called us children and threatened to cleanse us from existence. Now you see the result of their choice. General Mike Torres took Foster's place at the podium. The tough military man looked directly into the cameras. I am General Torres, Chief of Military Operations for Earth Defense Command. I want every Zephyrian leader to understand exactly what just happened. Torres activated a holographic display, showing the galaxy. Red dots marked Zephyrian military bases, shipyards, and key installations. There were thousands of them. For 2 years, human agents have been moving freely through your space. We have detailed intelligence on every military facility, every defensive position, every government building in your empire. The red dots began blinking. Each of these locations now contains a quantum field manipulator. Small devices, no bigger than a briefcase, completely invisible to your sensors when inactive. But when activated, they can shut down any technology based on exotic matter. Torres looked directly at the camera. Your leaders asked what we would do if you refused our offers of peace. This is our answer. We can turn off your entire civilization with the push of a button. Every ship, every weapon, every power source that matters to your empire. The display changed to show human ships throughout Zephyrian space. These vessels have been watching your worlds for months, not as conquerors but as guardians. If any planet had been attacked, if any civilian population had been threatened, we would have intervened immediately. On Admiral Vextar's flagship, power had been restored to basic systems. The proud warrior sat in his command chair, staring at the human ships surrounding his fleet. His science officer Zira approached with a data pad. Admiral, she said quietly, I have been analyzing their quantum field technology. It is based on our own science, but improved in ways our best scientists never imagined. They understand exotic matter better than we do. Vextar took the pad and read the technical analysis. The humans had not just copied Zephyrian technology, they had perfected it. How is this possible? We have been working with exotic matter for 10,000 years. Sir, Zira replied, I think they see patterns we missed. They approach problems differently. Where we used force and power, They used elegance and precision. A new voice interrupted their conversation. It came from the human ship directly beside them. Admiral Vextar, this is Master Chief Kelly Woods of the UES Freedom. We are detecting life support failures on 3 of your escort ships. Request permission to provide emergency assistance. Vextar felt his world shifting. The humans were offering to help the very ships that had come to destroy them. Master Chief, why would you save our people? Kelly's voice was steady and professional. Because that is who we are, Admiral. We protect life when we can. Your crew members are not our enemies. They are just following orders. Within minutes, human rescue teams were boarding disabled Zephyrian vessels. They brought portable life support equipment, medical supplies, and food. The alien crews watched in amazement as their supposed enemies worked to save their lives. Dr. Carol Price, humanity's leading expert on alien psychology, appeared on screens throughout the Zephyrian Empire. She spoke directly to the common citizens who were watching these events unfold. People of the Zephyrian worlds, she began. Your leaders have told you that all species fight for conquest and domination. That strength comes from crushing your enemies. That mercy is weakness. Dr. Price smiled gently. But humans are different. We fight when we must, but we prefer to build rather than destroy. We believe that former enemies can become friends. We believe that strength comes from protecting others, not harming them. The broadcast showed human medics treating wounded Zephyrian sailors, human engineers working to repair damaged alien systems, human diplomats offering food and water to their former enemies. Your military came to destroy our colony, Dr. Price continued. 50,000 human civilians, including children, were hiding in shelters waiting to see if they would live or die. We could have destroyed your fleet in revenge. Instead, we chose to save your people and offer you partnership. Back on Earth, President Foster returned to the podium for his closing message. Citizens and leaders of the Zephyrian Empire, you have seen our power. You have seen our mercy. Now you must choose your future. Foster's voice became more serious. If you choose to continue this war, you will face technology that makes victory impossible. We can disable every ship, every base, every weapon in your empire. But we take no joy in this power. The president paused, then smiled. If you choose peace, we offer something better than surrender. We offer partnership. Your science combined with our innovation could change the galaxy. Your strength combined with our compassion could protect every peaceful world. The broadcast ended, leaving the Zephyrian Empire in stunned silence. On 1,000 worlds, citizens looked at their leaders and wondered why they had chosen war when peace was possible. In the High Council chambers, ancient rulers faced a choice that would define their civilization's future. Admiral Vextar sat on his disabled flagship, surrounded by human ships offering aid instead of demanding surrender. For the first time, in his long military career, he began to understand what honor really meant. The humans had kept their word, both their promise of consequences and their offer of mercy. The question now was whether the Zephyrian Empire was wise enough to accept the gift they were being offered, the gift of a second chance. 6 months later, Admiral Jake Morrison walked through the corridors of Unity Station. The massive space station hung in the space between human and Zephyrian territory, a symbol of what enemies could build when they chose to work together. Jake stopped at an observation window and looked out at the mixed fleet patrolling the border. Human ships flew beside Zephyrian vessels in perfect formation. The same ships that had once prepared for war now protected both civilizations from outside threats. Admiral Morrison, came a voice behind him. Jake turned to see Admiral Vextar, approaching. The Zephyrian wore the uniform of the new Alliance Navy, with insignia showing his rank as second-in-command of Unity Station. Admiral Vextar, Jake replied with a smile. How are the joint exercises going? Better than expected, Vextar admitted. Your tactical methods are very different from ours. Where we used overwhelming force, you use clever planning. My officers are learning much. Jake nodded. The integration had not been easy. Zephyrian military doctrine was based on 10,000 years of conquest and domination. Human methods focused on efficiency and minimal casualties. But slowly, the two approaches were combining into something better than either alone. Admiral, Vextar continued, I wanted to thank you again for what your people did. When my fleet was disabled, you could have demanded our surrender. Instead, you offered partnership. I did not understand then why you showed mercy to enemies. And now? Jake asked. Vextar looked out at the mixed fleet. Now I see that you are not showing mercy to enemies. You are offering friendship to future allies. Your people think very far ahead. On the command deck, the joint crew worked together, monitoring long-range sensors. Human and Zephyrian officers shared data and discussed tactical options. Lieutenant Amy Sullivan, now promoted to commander, worked alongside Zira, the former Zephyrian science officer who had analyzed humanity's quantum technology. Commander Sullivan, Zira said, the deep space sensors are detecting something unusual. Multiple ships approaching from the Galactic Core region. Amy checked her displays. How many ships, Zira? At least 500? Possibly more. They are using a drive system I do not recognize. Not human. Not Zephyrian. Amy felt a chill run down her spine. Send an alert to both admirals. We may have company. In the station's diplomatic section, Ambassador Lisa Carter was meeting with Thekvar, the former leader of the Zephyrian High Council. The old alien had become a strong supporter of the alliance after seeing what cooperation could accomplish. Ambassador, Thekvar said, the integration proceeds well on most of our worlds, but there are still some who resist the changes. They believe the Empire was stronger when we stood alone. Lisa poured tea for both of them, a human custom that Thekvar had grown to enjoy. Change is always difficult. Your people ruled this sector for 10,000 years. It is natural that some would prefer the old ways. But you believe the alliance makes us stronger? Thekvar asked. Lisa smiled. I know it does. Your ships are more powerful now with human technology improvements. Our ships are tougher with your shield designs. Together we can protect worlds that neither of us could defend alone. An alarm sounded throughout the station. Both diplomats looked up as Admiral Morrison's voice came over the communication system. All senior staff to the command center. Priority alert. Unknown ships approaching Alliance territory. In the command center, the main screen showed a tactical display of local space. Red contacts were moving toward the border at high speed. The computer estimated their arrival time at less than 3 days. What do we know about them? Admiral Morrison asked. Commander Sullivan stepped forward. Long-range scans show approximately 800 vessels of unknown design. They are broadcasting on multiple frequencies, but we cannot understand their language yet. Dr. Helen Martinez, now serving as the Alliance's Chief Technology Officer, was working at a science station. Jake, I am picking up massive energy readings from their ships. Power levels far beyond anything we have seen before. Zira added her analysis. The hull configuration suggests a species that has never encountered human or Zephyrian technology, but their approach vector indicates hostile intent. Admiral Vextar studied the display. 800 ships heading directly for our territory. In the old days, the Empire would have met them with force and tried to drive them back. And now? Morrison asked. Now we have other options, Vextar replied. He activated the station's communication system. All Alliance vessels, this is Admiral Vextar. Unknown ships are approaching our territory. Prepare for possible first contact situation. Rules of engagement are defensive only unless directly attacked. Captain Steve Brooks, now commanding the heavy cruiser UES Messenger, responded from the patrol fleet. Understood, Admiral. My ships are moving to intercept position. Morrison looked around the command center at the mixed crew of humans and Zephyrians working together. 6 months ago, these same people had been preparing to destroy each other. Now they stood ready to defend their shared territory against a common threat. Open a channel to the approaching fleet, Morrison ordered. All frequencies, all languages in our database. Amy worked at her station for a moment. Channel open, Admiral. Morrison took a deep breath. This moment reminded him of another time, when humanity had given their final warning to the Zephyrian Empire. The difference was that now, humanity was not alone. Attention unknown vessels, this is Admiral Jake Morrison of the Human-Zephyrian Alliance. You are approaching sovereign territory. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions. We wish to establish peaceful contact. The response came quickly. The voice was harsh and mechanical, translated by computer systems into understandable speech. Inferior species. You occupy systems that belong to the Kronlar hegemony. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. You have 1 cycle to comply. Morrison and Vextar looked at each other. The message was almost identical to the ultimatum the Zephyrians had given humanity 6 months earlier. So, Vextar said quietly, we are about to meet a species very much like what my people used to be. Morrison nodded. The question is, will they be smarter than we were? Amy looked up from her station. Admiral, Captain Chen is requesting permission to activate the quantum field network. All generators in this sector are ready for immediate deployment. Morrison thought for a moment. The network that had ended the human-Zephyrian conflict was now larger and more advanced. It covered both human and Zephyrian space, protecting every world in the Alliance. Not yet, Morrison decided. First, we give them the same chance we gave the Zephyrians, a warning and an opportunity to choose peace. He turned back to the communication system. Kronlar hegemony, this is Admiral Morrison. We are not surrendering our territory, but we are also not seeking war. We offer you the same choice we offered others, peace and cooperation, or face the consequences of choosing conflict. The alien response was immediate. Your threats are meaningless. We have conquered 100 species. Your pathetic alliance will join them in slavery or death. Morrison looked around the command center one more time. His crew, human and Zephyrian, alike was ready. They had learned the hard way that sometimes peace could only be preserved through strength. Amy, Morrison said calmly, please send a message to all Alliance ships. Tell Captain Brooks that he may deliver our standard warning when the enemy fleet arrives. Morrison walked to the observation window and looked out at the stars. Soon, another species would learn what humanity had tried to teach the Zephyrians. That warnings should be heeded, that mercy was not weakness, that former enemies could become the strongest allies. The Kronlar hegemony was about to discover what happened when they chose war instead of peace. But they were also about to learn that the galaxy had changed. They would not be facing individual species fighting alone. They would be facing an alliance built on the simple idea that cooperation was stronger than conquest. Admiral Vextar joined Morrison at the window. Do you think they will listen to reason? Morrison watched the mixed fleet taking defensive positions, human innovation and Zephyrian strength, working as one. Probably not at first, but eventually they will understand. The galaxy is big enough for everyone who chooses to live in peace. In the distance, the stars waited to witness another lesson in the consequences of ignoring humanity's warnings. But this time, humanity would not stand alone. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the UES Defender. His hands gripped the metal rail as he stared at the big screen showing Earth's far colonies. The message had come 3 hours ago. 17 human children were gone. Missing. Taken from the farming settlement on Kepler 442b without any trace. Jake's jaw was tight. His dark eyes showed anger. These were kids. Children who should have been safe on their colony world, playing with friends, going to school, helping their parents with simple farm work. Now they were somewhere in the cold black of space. Lieutenant Amy Collins sat at her control station. Her fingers moved fast over the buttons and screens. Sir, I'm getting strange energy readings from the Zephyrian border space. It looks like the same kind we found at the colony. Jake turned to look at her. Amy was young but smart. She had been with his crew for 2 years and never made mistakes with the sensors. If she said the energy patterns matched, they matched. Show me, Jake said. The main screen changed. It now showed a map of local space. Red dots marked where the energy readings came from. They formed a line pointing straight towards Zephyrian territory. Dr. Peter Hayes walked up to Jake. Peter was the ship's expert on alien life forms. He had studied every known species in the galaxy. His face looked worried and confused. Captain, I finished checking the DNA traces we found at the colony. The Zephyrians were definitely there. But something is wrong with this whole situation. Jake raised an eyebrow. What do you mean wrong? The biosignatures show the Zephyrians were under extreme stress, fear, panic. That doesn't match with beings who just kidnapped children. Kidnappers are usually calm and in control. Jake thought about this. The Zephyrians were a reptile-like species. They had scales instead of skin and yellow eyes, but they had always been peaceful with humans. They traded goods and shared scientific knowledge. Their culture valued protecting young life above almost everything else. Maybe they were forced to do it, Amy suggested from her station. Peter shook his head. The stress patterns were too high. These weren't beings following orders. They were terrified of something. On the bridge's communication screen, a message light blinked. Jake pressed the button to accept the incoming call. The face of Admiral Connor Blake appeared. Blake was Jake's superior officer. His gray hair and hard features showed the experience of many space battles. Morrison, I'm sending you new orders. 3 more colonies have reported missing children. Same pattern. Kids vanish in the night. Zephyrian ship signatures detected leaving the area. Jake felt sick in his stomach. More children. How many this time, sir? 14 from New Texas, 8 from Haven Colony, 6 from Riverside Settlement, all between ages 5 and 15. Amy gasped from her station. Peter's face went pale. Sir, that's 45 children total, Jake said. If the Zephyrians are doing this, why? What could they want with human kids? Blake's expression was grim. Unknown, but we're treating this as an act of war. The president is meeting with the Earth Assembly right now. All diplomatic ties with the Zephyrian government are being cut. Jake knew this was bad. Really bad. The Zephyrians controlled 3 star systems and had advanced technology. If this led to war, millions could die. What are my orders, Admiral? Find those children, Morrison. Use whatever means necessary. If the Zephyrians won't give them back through diplomacy, we'll take them back by force. The communication ended. Jake stared at the blank screen for a moment. 45 children. Scared. Alone. Maybe hurt. He had a daughter himself back on Earth. Katie was 12 years old, the same age as many of the missing kids. Amy, set course for the Kepler system. Maximum speed. Yes, sir. Dr. Peter Hayes was still studying his data. Captain, I really think we're missing something here. The Zephyrians have never shown aggressive behavior toward any species. Their entire culture is built around protecting life. Maybe their culture changed, Jake replied. Or maybe we never really knew them at all. The ship's engines powered up. Jake could feel the vibration through the deck plates as they accelerated toward hyperspace. Around the bridge, his crew worked at their stations. Each one of them had the same look of determination on their faces. Lieutenant Collins called out, "Hyperspace in 30 seconds, Captain." Jake nodded. As the stars on the view screen began to stretch into lines of light, he made a silent promise. He would find those children. He would bring them home safely. And if the Zephyrians had hurt even one of them, there would be consequences. The UES Defender jumped into hyperspace, racing toward answers that might prevent a war between 2 species, or might start one. In space, no one could hear a child cry, but Jake Morrison was determined to make sure no more tears would be shed. The hunt for 45 missing children had begun. Ambassador Lisa Carter sat at the long table in the neutral space station. The station orbited the gas giant Titan 7, exactly halfway between Earth and Zephyrian space. This was supposed to be neutral ground where species could talk peacefully, but Lisa felt anything except peaceful right now. Across the table sat 3 Zephyrian representatives. Their scaled green skin caught the artificial light from above. Their yellow eyes looked worried and sad. The lead representative was Counselor Melthera. She was known for being honest and fair in all her dealings with humans. Ambassador Carter, Melthera said in her whistling voice. You must understand something very important. We would never hurt children of any species. Our most sacred laws forbid harming the young. Lisa's face stayed hard and cold. Then explain how your biosignatures were found at every place children went missing. Explain how your ships were seen leaving right after the kidnappings. She placed a data pad on the table. The screen showed evidence from all the colony sites. DNA traces, energy patterns, ship identification codes. Everything pointed to Zephyrian involvement. General Ross Cooper sat next to Lisa. He represented Earth's military forces. His uniform was pressed and clean, but his eyes burned with anger. We have security footage from Haven Colony, Zephyrian HFY War. Ships landed near the school. 1 hour later, 14 children were gone. Counselor Melthera's head moved in what humans had learned was a gesture of deep sadness among her people. General Cooper, Ambassador Carter, someone is using our technology to commit these terrible crimes. But it is not us. Another Zephyrian spoke up. This was Military Commander Kalara. His scales were darker than the others, showing his warrior status. 3 days ago, our own young ones went missing from our homeworld. 6 Zephyrian children, ages 4 to 10 in your human years. They vanished just like your human children. Lisa felt surprised, but didn't let it show on her face. You're claiming someone took your children too? Not claiming. Stating fact, Kalara replied. We found the same strange energy patterns at our site, but no human technology was detected. General Cooper leaned forward. Maybe you're lying to cover your tracks. Maybe you took our kids and then staged fake kidnappings on your own world. Melthera's yellow eyes flashed with something close to anger. General, we have opened our entire military database to your inspection. Every ship, every mission, every personnel record. If we had taken your children, you would find evidence. There. Back on Earth, President Helen Foster stood before the United Earth Assembly. The Great Hall was filled with representatives from every human colony and nation. Voices were raised in anger and fear. Parents worried about their own children. Military leaders called for immediate action. The evidence is clear, President Foster said into her microphone. 51 human children have been taken from our colonies. All evidence points to Zephyrian involvement. Dr. Emma Stone raised her hand from the science section. She was Earth's top expert on alien behavior and psychology. Madam President, this doesn't match Zephyrian behavior patterns. They have a documented history of protecting children across all species. Senator Bill Hayes stood up from his seat. Dr. Stone, are you saying we should ignore the evidence? Are you saying we should trust the aliens who stole our children? I'm saying we should look deeper before we start a war, Dr. Stone replied firmly. The Zephyrians have been our allies for 15 years. They've shared medical technology that saved millions of human lives. They've warned us about dangerous space phenomena that could have destroyed our ships. The assembly erupted in loud voices. Some agreed with Dr. Stone. Others demanded immediate military action against the Zephyrians. President Foster raised her hand for silence. The decision has been made. All diplomatic relations with the Zephyrian Republic are suspended, immediately. Economic trade is stopped. Their ships are banned from human space. Meanwhile, on the space station, the meeting between Lisa and the Zephyrian representatives continued to get worse. Your president has just declared us enemies, Melthera said sadly. We received the message 5 minutes ago. All our trade agreements are canceled. Our embassy staff on Earth has been ordered to leave. Lisa felt a small pang of regret. She had worked with Melthera for 3 years. The Zephyrian had always been honest and helpful. But evidence was evidence. If you're innocent, then help us find the real kidnappers, Lisa said. Give us access to your military files. Let our investigators search your ships and bases. We have already done this, Commander Kalara replied. Your investigators found nothing because there is nothing to find. We are not your enemies in this matter. General Cooper slammed his hand on the table. Then who is? Who else has access to your technology? Who else can make ships that look like yours? Melthera exchanged looks with her companions. They seemed to be having a silent conversation. Finally, she spoke. There are rumors. Stories told by deep space traders and explorers. They speak of a species called the Void Hunters, beings who steal children from many worlds for terrible purposes. Lisa had never heard this name before. Void Hunters? What do they want with children? According to the stories, they use young minds to enhance their own consciousness. They believe children's brains are more flexible and can be changed more easily. General Cooper looked skeptical. Convenient story. How do we know you're not making this up? Kolara activated a holographic display above the table. It showed star charts and data files. We have been tracking unusual energy signatures in deep space for 6 months. Signatures that match what was found at your colony sites and our own. Lisa studied the data. It showed a pattern of movement through space, ships or objects traveling from system to system, always staying in the dark areas between stars. If this is true, why didn't you tell us before? She asked. Because we were not certain, Melthera replied, and because we feared you would think we were trying to blame others for our own crimes. The meeting ended with no agreement. Lisa and General Cooper returned to their ship. The Zephyrians went back to theirs. Both sides prepared for what might become a war. But 51 children were still missing somewhere in the cold darkness of space. Captain Jake Morrison received his new orders at 6 in the morning ship time. The message came directly from Earth Command. Find the missing children. Use any means necessary. Bring them home safely or make someone pay for taking them. Jake stood on the bridge of the UES Defender. Around him, 11 other Earth ships waited in formation. It was the largest human fleet sent into space since the colony wars 20 years ago. Each ship carried weapons, Marines, and the determination to rescue 51 missing children. Sir, we're getting a signal from a Zephyrian ship, announced Communications Officer Danny Walsh. He was young and nervous but good at his job. They're requesting permission to speak with you directly. Jake almost said no. Relations between humans and Zephyrians had broken down completely in the past week. Earth's government considered them enemies now. But something made him curious. Put them on screen. The view screen showed the bridge of a Zephyrian warship. A reptilian figure in military uniform sat in the command chair. His scales were dark green, with scars across his face that spoke of many battles. Captain Morrison, I am Commander Zeklion of the Zephyrian Defense Force. I come with information that may save your children and ours. Jake's eyes narrowed. Your children? 12 more Zephyrian young ones vanished yesterday from our colony on Zerion 3. The same energy patterns were detected. The same mysterious disappearance with no witnesses. Dr. Peter Hayes moved closer to Jake's chair. He had been studying the kidnapping patterns for days. Captain, if they're telling the truth, this changes everything. Jake looked at the Zephyrian, commander on the screen. Zeklion's yellow eyes showed what Jake recognized as pain and worry, the same look Jake had seen in the mirror when he thought about all the missing children. What information do you have, Commander? We have tracked the true kidnappers to the Kepler-70 system. It is a dead system with no planets, only asteroids and gas clouds. Perfect place to hide a large ship. Lieutenant Amy Collins checked her star charts. Captain, Kepler-70 is completely unexplored. No one has ever sent probes there because it has no valuable resources. The kidnappers are not from our part of the galaxy, Zeklion continued. They call themselves Void Hunters. They travel in bioships grown from living tissue. They steal children from many species to use their developing minds for experiments. Jake felt sick. Experiments on children, on his daughter's age group, on babies and kids who should be playing and learning, not suffering in some alien laboratory. Why should I believe you? Jake asked. Your people's DNA was found at every kidnapping site. Because they stole our genetic material months ago. They used it to create false evidence that would make humans and Zephyrians fight each other. While we waste time fighting, they escape with the children. Dr. Peter Hayes was studying data on his portable screen. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy readings from the Kepler-70 system. Something very large is out there. Jake made a decision that could start a war or save lives. Commander Zeklion, are you willing to work with us to rescue all the children? Human and Zephyrian? It would be my honor, Captain Morrison. Our species are not enemies in this matter. Meanwhile, in the asteroid field of Kepler 70, something terrible was happening. A ship the size of a small moon floated hidden among the rocks. But this was not a normal ship made of metal and circuits. This was a bioship, grown from living tissue that pulsed with alien life. Inside the ship, children from many species were kept in glowing prison cells. The cells were made of some kind of energy field that the children could not break. 51 human children huddled together in one section. 12 Zephyrian young ones were in another area. But there were others too. Blue-skinned Andorian children, furry Canesian cubs, even some species that the humans had never seen before. 10-year-old Bobby Martinez was the oldest human child. He had taken charge of keeping the others calm. Next to him sat little Katie Wilson, only 6 years old. She clutched a small, stuffed bear that somehow the kidnappers had not taken away. "Bobby, when are our parents coming to get us?" Katie asked with tears in her eyes. "Soon," Bobby said, trying to sound sure even though he was scared too. "My dad always told me humans never leave their own behind, and I bet the Zephyrian kids' families are coming too." Chris Palmer, age 9, looked around at their prison. "What do they want with us? Why did they take us from our homes?" Before Bobby could answer, the walls around their cells began to glow brighter. A terrible presence entered the chamber. It was not a being with a body like humans or Zephyrians. Instead, it was pure energy that had taken control of a mechanical shell. Multiple sensors and cameras extended from its metal frame like the legs of a spider. The thing spoke with a voice that sounded like static electricity. "Young specimens, you have been chosen for a great honor. Your developing minds will be used to enhance our collective consciousness. Your thoughts and memories will become part of our eternal existence." Katie started crying. Several of the other children did too. Bobby stood up as much as he could in the small cell. "You can't do this to us. Our families will find us and stop you." The mechanical being moved closer to Bobby's cell. "Your families believe each other to be the kidnappers. Humans and Zephyrians are preparing for war even now. They will not work together to find you. They are too busy planning to destroy each other." But the being was wrong. At that very moment, Captain Jake Morrison and Commander Zeklian were working together. Human and Zephyrian ships flew side by side toward the Kepler 70 system. Old enemies had become allies in the face of a greater threat. "Captain, long-range sensors are picking up the bioship," reported Amy Collins. "It's enormous, at least 50 kilometers long." "How many life signs?" Jake asked. "Over 300. Most of them are very small. Children from many species." Commander Zeklian's voice came through the communication system. "Captain Morrison, bioships like this are very dangerous. They can repair themselves and fight back like living creatures. But they have one weakness." "What weakness?" "Their control systems are based on neural networks. If we can disrupt their brain patterns, the whole ship becomes helpless." Jake looked at his crew. Each face showed determination and courage. These people would follow him into hell itself to save those children. "All ships, this is Captain Morrison. We're going to rescue every child on that ship, human, Zephyrian, or any other species. No one gets left behind."